Hello creative friends! Welcome to another video on my channel, and in this video we are going to paint a cupcake with watercolor. It's going to be really fun and really delicious. So grab your art supplies and let's get started. So let's start with the sketch of our cupcake. So I'm going to tell you how to draw a cupcake. I created an outline for you to download so you can use it as a reference. And also I am drawing a cupcake here on my iPad so you can see what I'm doing. I suggest that if you want to try it out first, you use cheap paper like printer paper and sketch it a couple of times, or use your sketchbook. But when you are done and you are ready to start with the painting, then use watercolor paper and make sure that you're using an HB pencil for your sketch and try to draw in really soft lines on your paper. So when you are done with your sketch on your watercolor paper and you want to erase the lines that you don't longer need, then use a soft eraser. And when you are satisfied with your sketch, then use a kneading eraser and roll it over your drawing to lift off the excess pencil lines. This way, in the end result of your watercolor painting, you won't see those pencil lines. And now we are ready to get started with the painting. So grab your watercolor paint and a medium size round brush. I think I'm using a size 6. And start with painting in between the pencil lines, just like you are drawing in or painting in a coloring sheet. And decide on whatever color that you prefer. You can use the same colors as I am using, but you can choose your own as well. So I decided to go with blue because I would like my painting to become blue and pink and purple. So I have decided on my color palette beforehand. You can do the same, or you can just try out whatever colors that you like. Of course, you can rewatch this video as often as you like and try to create as many cupcakes as you want. So while the paint is still wet, I like to drop in some colors. Now, it looks like I'm dropping red in here, but this actually was kind of pink. Just see how this is going to dry up. And I just like to add it to the still wet paint and then let the watercolor paint do the blending itself. So I want a very light base of the cream on top of my cupcake. So I am using a very highly diluted paint. So I'm using a lot of water to blend with the color. So I'm using a pink color here, and it's very light, very transparent, and just painting in within those lines. And I make sure that the paint has dried before going to the next step, adding a darker bit of purple to the edges of the cream. And then while I first paint a line on the paper, and then I'm using water to blend it out, to wash it out. This way you get really soft lines. I'm only doing this at the top of the line so that the bottom is really nice and crisp, but it's really soft at the top. So dropping in some blue as well, and I don't blend it in too much on the paper, so very softly so that it can blend it in itself. And I'm using red for the cherry and the strawberry. Now you see what happens when the wet paint touches the other wet paint, then it's going to get blended in, and you want to try to avoid it. But if it does happen at times, that's not a problem. So dropping in some more pigments, so putting more paint on my brush with less water. And you see it's starting to blend in. So I'm trying to get rid of some of that paint, but I think I'm just going to let it happen. And then once the paint has dried, I might go over it another time. So I am painting the cookie with some burnt umber, some dark brown paint. And then after the first layer, I am putting some more pigment, some more paint on my brush to add some shading as well. So I've decided to do the stem of the cherry with the same burnt umber as well, and then adding some really dark green there. Using some light brown for the cupcake. And I'm using sap green, very highly pigmented, for the leaves of the strawberry. And now with some burnt umber, I'm creating a bit of shading on the cupcake. And then with some indigo blue, I'm going to create some shading on the stripes of the cupcake as well. And then I use water on my brush to blend out those lines. So again, I'm only doing this on one side of that stripe. So one side is really sharp and crisp, and the other side is blending in nice and softly. Now I would still like to add some more shading on top of this cream. So I'm using this beautiful purple color and adding some strides along the edges, and then again with some clean water on my brush, I am brushing it out. Doing the same thing with the cherry and with the strawberry. And again, I am too impatient, so I am painting while the other paint is still wet, and then when it touches each other, it starts blending in. I like to add some pink or purple in that cherry, and the way that I am painting in that strawberry at this point is very playful. Adding some burnt umber dots on that cookie. And now it's time to let it dry before adding some details. So I'm using a smaller round brush for this. And now with some blue indigo, it's really one of my favorite colors, I am using it to paint some details on top of the cupcake. Just like tracing those lines. I'm also using it to trace the cream layers very gently, and again brushing out that line with some clean water on my brush. Now what you can do, because that layer is still wet, then add in some paint in there, and then it starts to blend in itself. It creates a really cool watercolor effect. Doing this for the other layers as well. And the same for the cherry and the strawberry. So everywhere I'm using this indigo blue and my small brush to add some shading and add some details as well. Now with some red on my brush, I am drawing some small stripes on the strawberry, adding a bit more color to that cherry. And now that the paint has dried again, I like to use my small brush and some red and pink and add some dots like sprinkles on top of my cupcake. So in some of those dots I add a bit more purple for some extra shading, and I'm using some red and pink at the bottom of my cupcake as the surface where the cupcake is standing on. And I see I accidentally blended over the cupcake, so I am fixing that with my brush, and then later on I'm going to retrace that shade. Like here I'm using some beautiful pink color and I'm letting it blend and dry itself. So I like to add some more details on the side of the cupcake, so I am drawing some dots like sprinkles alongside of it. Now to really finish it off and create this really beautiful vibe, I am going to paint a few small hearts on the side of the cupcake. Adding some few more dots as well. And I really love how this cupcake is coming together like this. It's very sweet and delicious. So I think I'm going to paint a few more in different colors, different styles with different topics. So now one thing that I like to do with all of my watercolor illustrations is add some extra details with metallic watercolor paint. I always love the effect it gives a painting. So I'm using this bronze color and I am adding it on top of a few of those sprinkles to give it a beautiful shimmer. Adding some details on the strawberry, the cherry and the cookie as well. Some small subtle details. And now this beautiful illustration is finished. Don't forget to put your signature on it and be really proud of what you just created. I hope that you enjoyed this and that you are satisfied with your own results. I would love to see what you create, so please share it on your socials and tag me at Sandra Art Studio and use hashtag #CreateWithSandras. If you like my content, then please subscribe to my channel and hit that bell notification so then you know when a new video comes online. And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up.